With a new administration, there's a lot of new access being granted to reporters all across the country. And it's incredible because the so called most transparent administration ever wasn't very transparent. I could vouch for that. They blocked access, they didn't respond to emails. But the Trump administration is welcoming everyone with open arms. Joining me to discuss is Monica Paige. She is there right now at the White House. She's a Turning Point USA White House reporter. And she's also an incredible X account to follow. So give her a follow, link in the description of this video. Monica, I want to thank you for jumping on with me because President Trump has been going out there and going after the left wing rag known as Politico. He's infuriated that Politico has been getting millions and millions of dollars from US taxpayers. And it's laughable because, we're literally subsidizing Politico because they're not being able to get subscribers at all. But Open the Book just came out with a new report saying that $44.2 million since 2017 has been given to Politico for their subscriptions, and that's at the expense, obviously, of taxpayers. So, what's going on right now at the White House?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I love your work and I love everything that you
Mm,
do on social media. I've been following you for quite some time and I
thank
always like
you.
all the kind of news that you expose. But here at the White House, it's been very interesting, especially considering the fact that Politico has a seat in the briefing room and some of its members, like maybe the White House Correspondents Association president, is the member of Politico. I think he's the White House correspondent for Politico. We also have Dasha Burns. She's now the bureau chief for Politico. So we can expect things to start getting a little bit interesting now that more of this information is coming out. We also know that there have been thousands of dollars that have been given to multiple dozens of media outlets, foreign media outlets, to kind of push this agenda. Which is kind of why you've been hearing a lot of the same stories, a lot of the similar news circulations by all these different kinds of 30 different outlets, 72 different journalists, all getting money, Ukrainian journalists all getting money from USAID. It's ridiculous. So the fact that some of these stories are coming out, that you're hearing a lot of the same stories, you're seeing a lot of the same news coverage, pro Zelensky, anti-Trump, pro Joe Biden.
Mhm.
It's no coincidence. Follow the money. So I'm so glad that more of this is being exposed. But honestly, this makes a lot of sense. I mean, Politico was the one kind of trying to cover up the Hunter Biden laptop story. They were also pushing that illegal Supreme Court doc that dropped and then led to the almost assassination of Supreme Court justices and attacks on these Supreme Court justices as well. So you're kind of wondering, as we follow the money, what other outlets are going to come out? Is it going to be New York Times? And also not only with Politico and these outlets, but also there's a interesting fact about these pro-Palestinians who have been protesting Benjamin Netanyahu. You see them all the time wherever he goes.
Mhm.
And it was silent on Capitol Hill today. It's like, was USAID giving money to these protesters? Because they weren't out today, but they were out all week, this past week and before. So a lot of suspicious things, Brianna.
Yeah, and usually that is the case. Honestly, we don't have authentic protests these days. It's usually
Mhm.
being funded by either U.S. taxpayers or countries that hate us at this point. And so I would be curious to see if we get our hands on that. I'd also wonder if there's any internal communications going on that did go on between the Biden White House and Politico, because it does seem like there is a direct correlation between all of this. And I think it's interesting. We're watching as it's not even corporate journalists. We're watching just
Mhm.
people on X go through and sift through and literally audit the government through what's publicly available right now online. And we're the ones who are holding their feet to the fire. What's the difference right now with this White House? Because this White House is allowing podcasters, content creators into the press briefings, and the corporate media hacks. I mean, they're your friends, probably. I don't know if they're your friends or not. I won't put the heat on you, so I
No,
won't be too mean.
no friends. No way. I don't
Okay,
associate.
I love it. I love it. Well, the problem is like, they were. I remember I was at the White House. I think it's probably been about 3 years now. And not a single one of them were nice to me, friendly to me, spoke to me, said hello to me. Nobody wanted to talk to me. I just literally sat there and went into and that was it. And at the time, I
Mhm.
was actually working for a corporate media outlet, but there's just this negative energy with those in the press pool that I just didn't like at all. So, has that kind of changed now that they're opening up access to content creators and influencers?
Well, it's a really interesting kind of, I guess, dynamic inside the briefing room because on one hand, you've got these legacy media members who are sitting in these seats. They have had the same seats for quite some time now, for the last 4 years. And now you've got the new media or just media that haven't really been called on or recognized by the previous administration. Now you finally get to hear their voices. I remember working at my previous organization, and people were like, well, why don't we get to hear you? And it's like, well, I don't get called on. Now we get called on. Now
Mhm.
it's finally our time to have a voice. And the dynamic, it still stays the same. You can kind of feel a little bit of tension between some of the legacy reporters versus people like me, who's here at the White House on behalf of Turning Point Frontlines, just being here and seeing some of the dirty looks, seeing some of the questionable, what is she doing here? But I have walked into this White House about 2 years ago almost, and I have had a smile on my face the entire time because I know they're unhappy to see somebody like me. They know that I know they don't like to see me here. They know that I'm coming after them and really giving people the truth of this past administration. Don't believe your lying eyes. Don't believe your lying ears. I was trying to put an end to that, and now we can finally see what the previous administration was doing due to the sole fact that this administration has been, like you previously mentioned, the most transparent, where our emails finally get answered. The press corps, in the lower press office finally talks to us. So it feels good. It feels like, we are finally having our moment in the briefing room. It feels like we are finally be able to do our jobs, not only as reporters, but also on behalf of the American people who want real answers to real questions. So I'm really excited to see, what the next 4 years holds. I mean, we're only almost 3 weeks in, and so far this much has changed. I'm interested to see what's going to happen over the next 4 years.
I'm interested in seeing it as well, and I look forward to being there with you. I know I put in for credentials, and
Yes.
so that will be exciting. I think it's going to be an exciting time for this country because the corporate media no longer has all of the power, and they have for so long, and they've been able to control the narrative.
Mhm.
And now the narrative is literally being controlled by the people, and that's what they feared the most. So this is going to be exciting. But speaking of exciting, you were there earlier today when the press secretary came out and she detailed the president's plans of priorities when it comes to taxes. She's looking to do it. They're looking to do a ton of cuts on things like tips. So no tax on tips was a big one. No tax on overtime. No tax on senior and social security. So detail
Mhm.
what their plan kind of outlines, and do you think it's realistic?
Sure. Well, I mean, these are all the campaign promises that President Trump ran on for his entire presidential campaign. So it was also really great to see Caroline Levitt talking to the press today. I mean, this is something that she
Mhm.
does on a normal basis. So it's not like she's, hiding from the media or people are wondering about, some more details about these new initiatives. But I went to the lower press office today and I asked about, some of the details regarding these. So stand by for those. I mean, I'm still waiting to get the email back on, what exactly these details entail. But a lot of this is really positive for the American people. I mean, President Trump promised no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on senior Social Security. No, these state and local tax cuts as well. I mean, these are all really great and positive initiatives for the American people. We voted for this.
Mhm.
And a lot of people, especially working middle class Americans who have really kind of been living paycheck to paycheck under the Biden administration, hard to pay rent, hard to pay groceries, hard to pay for gas. I mean, all of that is finally going to come to an end, and we can finally see more money in our pockets, more money in our bank accounts, and hopefully, I mean, I'm personally hoping more money and more access to buying a home. I want to see mortgage rates come down as well, especially for a lot of young people who want to start families. I know we were just talking before your show about rent. Rent has gone up incredibly. I mean, a one bedroom you're paying 3 grand.
Yeah.
We're headed that way in Virginia. I mean, in DC, forget it. It's the same thing. So I think this is a great start. I think President Trump is in a really positive conversations with lawmakers and legislators to kind of push that new tax initiative through. And stay tuned because I think there's plenty more of this where that came from.
Yeah, and I'm excited about that. One of my favorite ones, you actually posted on X. I want to remind our audience to go follow you on Twitter, but you posted one that got me a little excited. Tax cuts for made in America products. That has me through
Yes.
the roof because that's really,
Yep.
really important. I like that you highlighted that. We do hope he could push that through. I think he'll be able to get that through because if you're against that, well, we've got a big issue on our hands then if any politician across the aisle doesn't support that. So I think that's going to be interesting. Monica, I wanted to get your take too on Caroline. You mentioned obviously that she's being very transparent, that she's coming out to speak to the
Yep.
media. What's the difference that you see with her when you
My
compare her to the previous press secretary.
Wow. Well, there are a ton of differences. And the first thing right off the bat is that she's so warm. She's so open. She's so honest. I mean, you have so much access to her on a daily basis. If it's not meeting with her one-on-one personally, it's right here on the North Lawn on Pebble Beach when she's walking back and forth through different kinds of organizations doing media hits. You can stop her and ask a question right here. I mean, very rarely did I ever see Corinne Jean-Pierre on Pebble Beach. I probably saw her only 3 times, 4 times, and I've been here for the past year and a half, almost 2 years. So, I
Mhm.
mean, I tried to get a meeting with Corinne Jean-Pierre. Her assistant always pushed me to the side. I would send emails to her assistant and her directly asking for maybe some more clarification on something or my question. And all of my questions would either go deleted or passed on to a different organization. It's really funny. I actually emailed Deputy Press Secretary Andy Bates on the weekend before Joe Biden dropped out of the race. And I asked him, I said, "Hey, Andy, just looking for some clarification on the recent reports that we're hearing about Joe Biden dropping out of the race. Just want to know, is this true?" And this was the only email I ever got back from the press office. He writes 3 words: "It's fan fiction." And then that Monday or that week, literally days later, Joe Biden dropped out of the race. So it wasn't fan fiction. So this just goes to show how honest and transparent the previous administration was. This administration right now, it just feels like it feels comforting to know that I can come into this White House, do my job, and have my questions answered. It's like a sigh of relief, honestly, and I hope that that feeling translates over to the American people as well.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is. And we're watching President Trump. I mean, yeah, President Trump as he's going through all this, and
Mhm.
he's it's like night and day. I mean, I remember getting Lids
Yeah.
called at 10 in the morning with Joe Biden in the White
Mhm.
House, and then we have a president who's up into the late night tweeting and on Truth Social and posting things out there so the American people know what he's working on. It's refreshing and it's exciting to see because our country needs it. I mean, we've got four
Yeah.
years to try to recover from, and President Trump seems to really be enthusiastic about doing this job. And so we look forward to that. Monica, I want to thank you for all the great work you're doing at the White House. And again, folks, you got to give her a follow. You can't trust other reporters, but you could trust her. I've been following her for a very long time. Monica Paige. Thank you again, folks. It's X. When you're looking her up on X, it's just at Monica Page TV. Link in the description of this video. We look forward to continuing to watch your career, Monica. Thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you, and hopefully we'll see you in that press briefing room, right alongside me, getting a question in to Caroline. Really positive thing. So thank you so much, and thank you for all the work you always do.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I look forward to that. All right, there's only a limited amount of topics. If I give you advice on, you better listen. And when I give you advice on steak, you better listen. If you follow me on X, you know I eat a steak a day. So I'm a bit of an expert, self proclaimed, of course. So I'm going to give you some advice. I've got a great American Wagyu company, and it's owned by a family in Missouri. And guess what? They're not using any mRNA vaccines on their products. It's ozarkwagyu.com. It's an incredible line of products delivered straight to your door. And folks, it's totally worth it. It's one of my favorite packages to receive. They've got Wagyu hot dogs, no mystery meat, all beef. Those are on sale right now. They've also got incredible ribeyes that you're going to want to get your hands on. So many of their items on sale right now. When you use promo code BREE, they're going to give you an additional savings, which is amazing. So again, folks, that's promo code BREE. If you got a family, definitely get that Denver steak. That is an incredible cut of steak, and it's massive. I eat it by myself, but it takes about 3 days for me to go through. So again, head on over ozarkwagyu.com. Use that promo code BREE. So many incredible products delivered to your front door, and you're not going to be disappointed. I could promise you that much. This is the only thing I'm really passionate about in life. It's meat, it's steak. So head on over right now to ozarkwagyu.com. Use that promo code BREE. That's promo code BRE to save. This is a family in Missouri who owns this farm, and they are bringing all of their products straight to your door. ozarkwagyu.com, promo code BREE.